So as today is a super truthful, honest video as to why I have been gone, I figured the best way to present myself would be to catfish with all this fake hair. But you know, whatever. It's fall, so I can finally wear my extensions without wanting to die. I've been procrastinating this video for so long because honestly, I am just really scared to film it. It's pretty serious. Like, I'm not gonna make it too serious or anything, but like, I mean, it's the nature of it is just serious by default. So yeah, I'll throw a trigger warning out that I will be talking about eating disorders, and if that is going to trigger you or bother you, then just click out of this video. Just know I am good, I'm okay, and I will hopefully see you in my next one. But for the rest of you, I thought I owed you all an explanation as to why I have been gone all summer, and I've been trying to get back into filming, and I've tried to film several videos, but I just felt like I couldn't actually post anything or really get one done until I posted this video, because it seemed like the most important to put out there for you guys. So for those of you who have stuck around during my hiatus, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I will be back to film more videos now, I think, after I get this off my chest. So I guess let's just get right into it. So I have notes on my iPad. I just, I didn't want the video to go on too long, which I knew that it would if I tried to just tell the story without having some notes in front of me. So this is not me being ingenuine, it's just me trying to focus my brain. So when summer started, I had every intention of posting all the time. If you watch back in June, I was like, I'm gonna do a video every day in June. And I literally thought, I was like, yeah, I can do that. Obviously I couldn't. And honestly, the reason for that is because I have been struggling with an eating disorder now since probably the beginning of my second year of law school, maybe even before that. I don't know. It's been a while. This is not the first time I've dealt with one in my life. It is the first time I've realized that I have been dealing with one, and it's definitely the worst it's ever been, I guess I can say. But yeah, so I guess I'll just explain kind of why, because maybe it can help some of you out there who might be dealing with similar issues and don't know it. Like, I didn't know it until it was a little too late. Not too late, it's never too late, but it was pretty late in the game. It's really weird to even be talking about this or saying it out loud, because for the longest time I just didn't think that it was even a thing. And honestly, sometimes it's still hard to tell myself that it's a thing. Eating disorders are really tricky that way. You're always gonna feel like you're not sick enough or you're not sick. Like that's what they do. That's how they convince you in your head that you're fine. Yeah. So like I mentioned before, I'm not gonna go into super detail or anything, but I have dealt with these kind of issues before. I remember as a kid having some issues where I love attention, okay? Like, theater major, want to be a lawyer, like, attention, love it. And when I was little, I was always so like tiny and skinny, and that was just like a thing that I noticed I got a lot of attention for. So I would try to stay that way, if it makes sense. Like, I didn't know really about calories or anything, but I did know that like the more food you eat, obviously, like the more weight you gain. And that's what I thought. And so I remember as a little kid, I would sit and I would be hungry, but if I could not feel like the dip in my stomach, like, you know, what is the shit that people like now? Ab cracks, whatever. If I couldn't feel like a dip, then I wouldn't eat, because I thought that meant that I didn't need to eat food, because then it would get bigger and fill up and I wouldn't have that dip anymore. And for some reason that really bothered me. Looking back, obviously, it was because I was already having disordered thoughts at, you know, the age of like 12, 13. And that's just how it was. I was never the smartest as a kid or anything. My brother was a lot smarter than I was. He was in the honors classes, I wasn't, and I just wanted some form of attention, and that's where I got it. And obviously I'm not like blaming my brother, it ain't his fault. Like, good for him that he's smart, you know? And I mean, I eventually realized like that I was a lot more intelligent than I had thought I was, because of a really great guidance counselor in middle school when I changed to public school from Catholic school, and that's a whole different story. But yeah, I really struggled for a while as a kid without even realizing it. And then again in college, this happened more towards my, I want to say like senior year, senior year of college. I was in a show, and this is the first time that I realized maybe I had an issue in college, but I still didn't really think that I did. So I was in Legally Blonde, and I was Brooke, and Brooke Wyndham is like the jump roping badass, like sing jump rope at the same time, you know, on trial for murder character. And so I was nervous about my scene, mostly because of, you know, the singing and jump roping at the same time and trying not to completely mess up. So that was most of the issue, but the other issue was the costume, and I just felt like if I was not literally a size 0, like if I was not the smallest person on that stage, which I still wasn't, I'm pretty sure, doesn't even matter, but in my head it did. And if I wasn't skinny enough, then I felt like I did not even deserve to be that role, and everybody would be like, what is she doing playing that character? So my costume in that was, you know, like the sports bra and like the jail pants and, you know, the typical Brooke costume. You can put a picture there, production photos. And it kind of just carried over into my second semester, because my second semester of senior year, I was the lead in another show, which I love, and it's still honestly probably my favorite experience of my entire life. We did the Miss Firecracker contest, which actually has a great message about it just has a great message to it about, you know, being yourself, and like beauty standards don't necessarily mean anything, and, you know, whatever. So, but basically my character was in a beauty pageant, and not the entire first act, but for a majority of the first act, I was wearing like a leotard thing, and that was pretty much, that was it really, except like an apron at one point, but still, like, I was in a leotard. So I was like, if my thighs are not skinny, if I'm not super tiny, then I'm gonna look stupid. If there's like any indication of fat on my body, then I can't be this role. And so I was just nervous about that, and it was a smaller theater, and I wanted to look a certain way because I wanted people to see me a certain way, and that way was skinny. So yeah, but I didn't really think that much about it. And I did have my two best friends. I still am very close with them, still my best friend. And so they at one point called me to her room, and they wanted to talk to me about my weight and eating habits. And I remember getting so angry, like viciously angry, not to their face, but like later on I was like talking shit. And looking back, they were clearly just trying to help. I'd never even realized that I looked too skinny or anything, so it was just kind of difficult. But other than that, like, my college experience was just so amazing. I loved it. I was super involved. I did orientation later. I was in shows all the time. People knew who I was. It was a small school, but like, you know, I felt like important, I guess. I mean, I gave a speech to my entire graduating class the night before graduation. Like, I was so proudly Dominican. Like, I was ready to go. Like, I loved my undergrad university so much. And I loved my experiences there and all the people that I met there, and it was just a great experience, right? So I go from that experience straight into law school because I thought that was a good idea. And I don't really regret it because now I have a year left, and I'll be a lawyer hopefully by 25. So that's pretty dope. But at the same time, it was just a big change. So law school starts and I get there and all of a sudden I'm just surrounded by the smartest people. Just like, I felt so stupid, and I still feel stupid sometimes. Like, I'll be in class and I'll be like, what am I doing here? Everybody knows way more than I do, and I don't belong here. I don't have lawyers in my family. I'm the only one right now. And it was pretty overwhelming. And I dealt with it, instead of by working harder and studying, I dealt with it by drinking a lot more and going out all the time and using basically the excuse of, oh, I just didn't really study and that's why I didn't get the best grades. And it was the first time in a long time that something hadn't been easy for me, I guess. Because school had, since high school, always been easy. Like, I was just good in high school. I don't know. And in college, I was good and just intelligent. And I felt like, you know, top of my game. I graduated magna cum laude. I was going into law school. And I felt real good. And then I got there and I was like, oh. So law school continues on and I end up, it's my second year of law school. And I am doing better by this point in terms of grades. Like, I don't really go out. I just kind of do my thing, do homework, do whatever. I had externed in the summer in the circuit court, and then I stayed in the fall, which I really liked, and I really liked everybody there. I felt like I was learning a lot and things were going really well, especially my first semester of 2L year. And I got my exam grades back and they were the best they'd ever been, and I was just excited. It's like, finally, I understand what's going on. Like, I'm not an idiot. I get what's happening. And also around that time, I was finally diagnosed with ADHD. So finally, I was diagnosed with that, in addition to anxiety and depression that I already dealt with. But some of my anxiety, it turns out, was from the ADHD and just not being able to pay attention because there were too many thoughts in my head all the time. And I really started treating that my second semester of 2L year. And then the thoughts just still kept coming back of like, okay, now I've been diagnosed with this, I'm taking medicine for this, I should be better. And I just still wasn't. I was still average, and I'll be the first to admit that I love attention and I want to be the best, and I'm a perfectionist, and I need to be the best, even though that's not an attainable goal. Like, you're not going to be the best at everything. And I mean, it was that, and then mixed with the whole thing that I hadn't been acting for so long now. It's been a good, you know, almost 3 years, because I've been in school and you can't really audition and do a bunch of stuff when you're in school. And so I felt like I had lost that huge part of my identity. I had lost the huge part of my identity of just being the smartest, or like, you know, the top of the heap, the big fish. You know, it just was kind of difficult. By kind of, I mean a lot. I guess the whole eating disorder thing kind of started by accident, to be honest. I just hadn't been eating as much because I was stressed, and then I started losing weight, and I started noticing that I was getting a lot of comments, like compliments on my weight. And it had been a long time since, you know, theater, where you get compliments on your performance and you get great grades and just things that I really seek external validation. Like, I seek validation from others, and I know this about myself, and I try to work on it, because really, like, it's not healthy. I shouldn't be so focused on other people. I should be more focused on, you know, what I'm doing. But it just, for some reason, that's how I am. So I'm trying to fix it, but it's hard. And so I still didn't really know that I had a problem. I do know that I started going online a lot, and I would really look up a lot of things about anorexia. And in my head, I was telling myself that I was looking them up so I would scare myself and not become anorexic or whatever. But looking back, I was really just kind of looking for tips and looking for things to help me out and become a more proficient anorexic, if you will. and it worked. I kept dropping weight and the comments kept coming, and I was like, yes, I know, I'm so skinny, this is so great. And I didn't even realize that I had a problem until it was June, I believe, whenever Pride is. It was the Pride parade, and I remember I hadn't eaten much in a few days because I hadn't been counting calories, but I had definitely been restricting. And it was Pride, and so I was invited to this party with my roommate, and so we went, and there were, you know, party snacks there, not healthy things, you know, like cheese dip and whatever, and I was vegan, and I hope that I will be vegan again someday, and I'll make a whole different video about that. But I was eating the cheese dip and I was drinking, and then all of a sudden all I could think about was like the calories, like all the calories. I just had all these calories, and I was panicking, just freaking out, and I didn't have any of my medicine with me, and I couldn't think of what else to do. And the next thing I know, I'm just like in the bathroom, just like, because I was like, you know what, I can get rid of everything if I just puke it up. Not cute, not a good look, don't be that person. But there I was being that person at like 11 a.m. and that's kind of when I realized I was just sitting there, and I was like, oh, like this might actually be a problem. And after that, I wish that it would have gotten better, but it just kind of got worse in that all I think about pretty much is food. It's just constantly on your mind, constantly thinking about food, constantly thinking about what I weigh, and if I have a thigh gap, if, you know, just a bunch of things that don't really matter. And I also noticed that I kind of stopped eating lunch with coworkers or friends or anybody, because I just started to feel anxious if I was eating in front of people, because if anybody comments on my food, then it just makes it worse. And I know that nobody's doing it to be malicious, you know, like nobody is, especially like they'd be complimenting me even, like, oh, you're skinny like because you eat healthy or blah blah blah, whatever. So then I felt like I could only eat healthy if I ate something bad. Like I constantly drink Coke, and then there's constant comments about how I'm always drinking Coke, and I mean, I play into that, like it's my lifeblood, I get it, it's fine. But the comments about food and just being in a room full of people eating food is terrifying to me. And so I just kind of stopped, and I would just walk around, just do whatever, just anything to not be in the lunchroom or in, you know, Life Kitchen with other law students. Like I just couldn't do it. And so that was another sign that I noticed. I would make sure, and I still do this sometimes, I make sure that I don't eat till a certain time of the day. I have to be a certain level of hungry before I'm allowed to eat or whatever. And if I notice that my thighs are getting bigger, I'll like restrict for a day, 2 days, however long I think that I need to. And I'm really trying to stop those behaviors, and I think I have been in some ways. I've been eating more, just if I want something, I'll eat it most of the time. If I catch myself saying like, oh, you definitely cannot have this, I try to do the opposite action and have that. But it's really difficult. And trying to put weight back on is something I need to do, obviously, but the thought is also terrifying. So I'm just kind of stuck in the middle, and that's another reason I've been kind of scared to film this video, is that most people who film videos about stuff like this seem to be, you know, over this part of it, and I'm not, and I don't know how to, so that sucks. So I guess the next thing that happens is, I mean, this goes on for most of the summer, and then one day my aunt was dropping off my little cousin to come spend the weekend with me. I love him so much, little Josh. Yeah, so he was coming up, and I honestly, looking in the mirror, even now, do not look skinny. I mean, I don't look fat or anything, but I just look normal, I guess, like a slightly above normal. And so when my aunt was looking at me and she basically told me that I look anorexic, I was like, what the hell? Like, I was angry, still don't want to hear it. So now it's like I want to hear compliments about how skinny I am, but I also don't want to hear compliments about how skinny I am. So either way, I'm stuck, and that just sucks. And so yeah, I knew then again that was another problem. And then I guess the final thing before I actually decided to tell my therapist about it was I was taking pictures for my Facebook page, and there was an outtake. I haven't decided if I'm gonna put it in, but I probably will. But in this picture, it could have, obviously it was partially the light and how it was shining on me, but you could like see my ribs. Like, I looked like a skeleton. And I just was like, oh my God, like I didn't see that. I don't see that when I look in the mirror. I didn't understand. So I get home and I'm taking pictures and pictures and pictures and pictures, and none of these are gonna go in there, of just like seeing how skinny I was. And I was like, oh my God, like this isn't good. I'm too thin, and I know I'm too thin. And I especially know I'm too thin because there is a scale in the break room at work. And I remember one day everybody was weighing themselves. And so I weighed myself, and I remember exactly that it said 103. And I was like, holy shit, 3 pounds too much. I don't, like, you know, I was calculating my BMI. And if it's not 17 or below, then I'm freaking out. And it just is such a vicious cycle. And I haven't weighed myself since that day. Luckily, I have no scale at home. I have no intention of weighing myself anymore. But that was a big wake-up call, you know? And so I did go to my therapist and I talked to him about it. And I didn't think he was gonna say that I was anorexic for some reason, or that I had any disordered eating issues. I thought he was gonna say like, oh, you know, just like eat a little bit more, you're fine. But no, he did point out that those were disordered thoughts and definitely leaning towards anorexic behaviors, which I didn't want to hear. Even though I knew it was true. It's just like when somebody else says it, then it becomes extra true. And yeah, so then I had an appointment a couple of weeks ago with my psychiatrist, and I told him about it. And he, again, for some reason, I thought that it was not going to be a big deal or anything. But he did mention some outpatient programs, which I really don't have time for. I'm working, I'm in law school, I have things to do. I can't do that. Or also finding another therapist or nutritionist that could help and that specializes in eating disorders. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I haven't looked into any of them, but I plan to, because as much as I don't want to gain weight, it's just like sometimes like my heart will hurt, and it's just like I know that I'm destroying my body. Like I know what I'm doing, and I know that being skinny isn't worth it, and I know that I am so much more than my body size, and just there's so many more important things. And I think when it really hit me was a couple weeks ago. That's when I decided I was going to do this video, and it's taken 2 weeks to finally film. But when I was at the Fall Out Boy concert at Wrigley Field and they were playing Champion, I just thought, you know, I mean, it was like the whole concert, I was just having so much fun. And I realized like, oh my God, I don't want this to be my last concert. I don't want to continue just isolating myself from everybody and not wanting to do anything, and eventually, you know, just like wasting away. It's essentially what would happen. And the lyric in that song is that I really connect with is, if I can live through this, I can do anything. And yeah, in that moment, I realized, you know, I'm not gonna be an eating disorder. I'm not gonna let this be who I am, and I'm gonna let other things define me, like a great actress, hopefully a great attorney, you know, like there's so many things more important than my weight. And even my tattoo that I got, I have a Fall Out Boy tattoo. I think y'all have all seen it. I can't really show it right now. I'll show a cute picture of me and my best friend though right here before the concert. It was super cute. We both have Fall Out Boy tattoos. But mine is a lyric from Thriller, and it is "Long live the car crash hearts." And I love that lyric so much because what it means to me personally is car crash hearts, as in, you know, people like me and probably a lot of you who have mental illnesses. When I got it, I got it because, you know, anxiety, depression, whatever. But just the way "long live the car crash hearts" is like empowering in a way, because I mean, I know that like Pete Wentz, who writes the lyrics and stuff, he deals with mental illness and he's done such great things, and there have been so many people who struggle who do amazing things. And so the reason that I love this tattoo so much is just, you know, long live the car crash hearts. I might be sad a lot of the time. I might be thinking about food 90% of the time right now. I might be depressed sometimes and I might be happy sometimes, but I can do things and I can do them well. I can do my job well. I can have friends. I can be an actor. I can do everything that I want. And my battery's about to die and this video has been super long already, so I'm gonna end it here. Thank you so much for listening. If you have been, my next video, I promise, will be fun and not about my mental health. The next video will be fun or something. I don't know. I might make more videos about this topic in the future if it seems like people are interested, if it seems like it will help anybody. I will keep you guys updated more on my Twitter and Instagram, so I will link those down below in case you want to follow me there. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sticking around if you are still here even after me disappearing for so long. And yeah, long live the car crash hearts. And I'll see you guys in my next video.